Hello, and welcome to the Interest of Cheese, our kind of very informal chatting / interview sort of with everybody who is here. We will go around and introduce ourselves, but I first want to just kind of shout out and also thank Carpe for coming to join us today on our just sort of hangout chat show.
I mean, a pleasure. I'm glad I'm getting to hang out with the crew. I feel like I've just like watched you guys so much that it's sort of I'm like, I feel like a voyeur that's been exposed. I'm like, whoa, they can see me now.
They're interacting with me. Yeah. But I will start. I am Foozca. I DM on Saturdays for Difficult Terrain, and I play as a ranger. I'm actually wearing my ranger shirt today.
Let's go.
On Nenner's campaign on Fridays. So you can find me both times there, or sometimes doing random things during the week. Maya's fucking cheese distracted me so hard. So because of that, I'm going to pass it off to Maya because that is a healthy chunk of cheese.
No,
the opposite of what I desired.
Introduce yourself, Maya.
Damn it. I don't even introduce myself. I'm not talking about, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to introduce myself that way. Hello. I'm Maya. As Foozca said when she introduced me as Maya. I play a druid in one campaign, and in another campaign, I play a sorcerer.
You did play a sorcerer.
Campaign in which I play the sorcerer. Probably dead.
Yeah.
So
Not dead.
It's very likely that I'm playing a sorcerer who will soon be spirit. So we'll keep that in mind. She likes to torment us a lot, and if I seem low energy, it's because I'm recovering from yesterday's drama. I yesterday was an experience in which I couldn't do nothing without getting counterattacked. So I couldn't cast no spells without getting slapped every time. And then I tried to do other things, and she turned me into a bomb and tried to make me kill my party.
I didn't turn you into anyway.
You know what you did. You know what you made that. You solved that feature.
To be fair, you did let that in.
Listen, all right. I had been Pandara in like months. I forgot that I had the bomb thing. I forgot I was a bomb. So when she told me to roll, I almost left. I didn't want to do my
This is turning into a very long introduction.
It is a very long introduction. I wanted it to be as painful as possible for you because of yesterday. So aside from that, I am also the creator behind Ibella Nights, which is a new sci-fantasy tabletop campaign. I'm only bringing it up because they would force me to anyway. So I'm heading that off right now. And with that said, I'm going to pass it along to it's funny because my brain is like flashing on each panel and just picking one at random. Flandy.
Flandy? Okay. Hello. It is I. Jank! Hold on, I gotta yell.
Super Jank! No, I fucked up, yeah.
Jank!
Don't be alarmed. Yeah. Double clicked on the wrong window. Oops. Go ahead, sorry.
Hello, I am Flandy. I am a player in two of these lovely people's campagnes, and eventually I'll be in Ibella Nights, but who knows when that'll be because busy lifestyle. On very rare occasions, I get to host the beautiful Humble Woods with my beautiful crews and casts, and one day we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Don't know when, but it'll happen one day. I play a paladin Furbolg in Foozie's campaign. He's a nature paladin and doesn't really believe in gods, but he still is a paladin somehow, and it's amazing. He has a beautiful relationship with his best friend, Unicorn Lady, aka Maliki. And in Nenner's campaign, I play it slightly more chaotic, also Furbolg brother to the paladin, Warlock Furbolg, who does a lot of crazy stuff, and lately he's been experimenting with blood magic because he's nervous and wants to save the world, and yep, that's what he decided to do. And without further ado, because we gotta save the best for last, I'm gonna go up to Nena's so we can hand it off.
I'm pretty sure I'm not last, but yeah.
Well, I said we gotta save the best for last.
He's setting up the pipe.
Okay, all right. Apparently I gotta roll up my sleeves in this one. I'm Nenners. I am the brother and frequent victim of the host here, Foozca. I'm also suffering from a fair bit of trauma and a little bit of class regret. But outside of that, I DM on Fridays, which is in comparison is a lighthearted, jovial campaign as we try to stop the rest of the world from being destroyed.
All right, so you ain't gonna be you out of pocket right now because while Fouz is more traumatic, you are equally dark. Get the fuck out of here.
I believe this is my introduction, sir. I gave you the floor. I am also a play tester in Maya's awesome play setting, and I'm very excited to play in it when we get that going.
Yes.
And I will keep this short relative to my cohorts here and pass it off to Carpe.
Also,
appreciate it. I'm so pumped to be here. I wish Foozca had almost killed me last night. I actually was interviewing David Tilstra on Between Two DMs, and we rated you guys right, and it was so funny because, like, especially when I finished streaming, I'm like, oh man, I gotta go like have a bagel, you know what I mean? But I could tell that everyone was super tense, like it was very tense, you know. And so it was funny to kind of pop in on that, and then to hear about the down and dirty details. But I'm an actor in Los Angeles. I'm a voice actor and in Dungeon Master here on Twitch, and big fan of y'all streams. So I'm pumped to be here. And you know what? I'm going to kick it over to Foozca because everyone else got to kick it, and I would like to kick it as well.
Exactly. That's very true. I appreciate everyone being here as per usual. We kind of start off our interest of cheeses with sort of a not necessarily a recap of like what you've done, but like in the last week or so, if there was a session moment or a DM moment that you kind of want to discuss that was particularly interesting to you or maybe intense or whatever had happened, this is an opportunity to kind of bring that up, especially because I know, Carpe, you've been planning for this like BBEG fight for a while, and it's been like cool seeing you plan for that. So if you don't mind, I'd love to hear a little bit about it and what I guess your last session was and what you're looking forward to in your next session.
Man, that is so sweet to ask me that, because I could explode. I'm so excited to like kill these people. I sat down with Ninners about 3 weeks ago and absolutely loved it. Ninners, such a blast. But man, he put me on to Dark Sun, which I have been sort of going through, and it is really, really intense. And I only bring that up because this BBEG is a level 20 divination wizard, and he's more or less working as like a kind of like a you scratch my back, I scratch yours with this evil god Talos, like part of the Storm Pantheon. But the Dark Sun setting that has all gods being dead, to me, like is really the mindset I feel like this BBEG has. Like a wizard is so intellectual. They're kind of like, you know what? I could probably kill a god. I'll you know, like I like if need be, yeah, fuck it, we'll make a deal. But like at the end of the day, it's probably going to be me over you. And so like the last session, they're under Neverwinter. They're in the sewer. The party is separated, and and like I
you
mean,
say separated, but it is literally like when I heard it, it's between planes. Like,
yes, they are.
Like
they're
it's
about
not
as
like they
separated
ran
as you
down
can
the
get.
street.
Yeah, no, it's very far away. Like some people are about to get arrested on the material plane. Some people are in the astral plane hanging on for dear life. And they're, you know, when they come back, they're about, 800 yards away from the BBEG's lair. So I'm expecting bloodshed.
For sure. For sure. That's awesome.
I very much look forward to hearing about it.
And truly, and just to like cap it, like Ninners, you have encouraged me so much to hold nothing back. Like I'm going to be handing them portent roles as failures, and I'm really like I'm going for the neck as much as I can.
Yep.
You know,
So especially for
Ninners,
BBEG, that's you got to leave it all
Let's
on
go.
the table.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
to say it, Ninners, but for this group, you might be their insomnia night.
Dude, 100% yes.
I am super down for that, and I love that
Hey,
very much.
don't forget to take notes from Foozca though. Like last night was a great example of the level of like horror she can unleash on us as a crew. So you got to take notes from both of them.
Yes.
Never
Well,
mind.
I feel like they're constantly trying to top each other. So it's sort of like,
It is a fight to see who has the darkest campaign. I think Netters has it by a country mile,
Nah.
but
Nah.
Maya's like, no way.
with that out of the way, for the rest of us, the other four of us, let's roll a d20 and see what order we can answer this
Oh,
question
we're
in.
supposed to be.
Heck yeah.
Which is exclamation point dice space 20, and then it should. That's an 11 for me. I thought it was a 1 at first. Did you roll a natural 20? Dang, Netters!
Whoa.
Holy shit!
Oh.
Did I roll that wrong?
You need a space, yeah. Well, it looks like with a freaking 11, I'm dead last so far, unless Maya.
I just
rolled
kind of
me.
want to roll one.
Yeah, I'm dead last. Holy shit, you rolled 22.
snaps.
Oh shit!
Yo,
Let's go.
The guest goes first, please.
yeah, by all means. That was incredible rolls all around. Okay, so this is kind of, I guess we'll have the guest answer it first again. But what kind of campaigns or like themes do you find yourself kind of naturally drawn towards?
Man, I really do love like classic high fantasy, right? But I want it to hopefully feel like super gritty and grounded, and in general, and maybe it's just because I'm reading too much Dark Sun, but like in general, I wanted to feel like Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you have unleashed me. But the idea of a world or a campaign that without the party would be completely boned is sort of like the general like pillar that I want to apply. It's like these heroes need to be here. Without them, it might unravel or really fall down into darkness. And at minimum, it can then lead to some high stakes, and it keeps the campaign, player centric. So that's probably how I'd put it.
That's a very nice way of putting it. All right, now news with the other natural 20.
Campaigns that I prefer.
Campaign themes or sort of settings, moods.
Well, this one's kind of an apocalyptic one. I like the idea of discovering something that was lost and what that could mean to a society or a world that is very interconnected. I think I was talking about Maya before. I like areas where there's a lot of like geopolitical like boundaries, but also level of necessity. And I'll give you an example, like us in China, right? Like we're very clearly like not exactly best friends right now, but we absolutely need each other. And if there was like the option isn't to wipe the other out, because it just the whole world basically suffers at that point. So I love little things where it's like a really complicated problem, but something that could shift everything is in the background. And it's like if anyone ever played Mass Effect, I love the idea of like having something that's there, and like just if you knew what you were looking for, you would see it, but you don't. And just like and you just lay those tracks, and then you go look at the Citadel room in Mass Effect from Mass Effect 1. It looks exactly like a Reaper, and you're like, oh, the whole time, the whole time. But yeah, that's exactly kind of what I like. Anyway,
that's awesome. Maya with a 19.
I'm a slightly different in that I prefer campaigns that start off, I'm not going to say low stakes, but without all the like big, like, there's all this crazy shit going on. Like,
so do you like the anime escalation where it's just like, we're just having fun, we have to kill God at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, not exactly kill God, but like, I do like the idea of like people just like adventuring or just being mercenaries or just being a thing or like just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually they get caught into some shit, but it's not like treated as like you are the special. It's just more like you happen to be the right people in the wrong place at the right time to get involved in this. And here we are now. It's like we didn't sign up for this, but we're gonna do the thing and hope that we survive.
Awesome.
That's like how I live my life. I feel like is that version. Is that it's just like here we go. I hope I live.
Find out what happens now. Flandy.
I thought I'm obviously new to D&D and role playing specifically. I thought I was going to be a little bit less interested in the role playing when it came down to it. But the way we do it, I absolutely love it. Like I love that we don't like, oh, I'm going to eat a piece of bread. Oh man, I bit my tongue. I love that we don't go to that level with it, but it's still like fun and meaningful, and it develops a story. As far as like a campaign setting, I love the idea of a bunch of just random, you wouldn't think that they would work together, people coming together and like defeating something that you never like realized you'd even try to fight. And I guess that kind of plays into my love of chaos and eclecticism, if you will.
100%. Feels right too, though, considering how chaotic like you and your characters are.
It's fun. Some of it's on purpose. Some of it's completely on accident.
Oh, I know. You've heard me say this so many times, but like, if you ever, I wish we recorded initially, because seeing like Flandy blossom as a role player has been awesome. Because initially it was very like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'll kind of react when someone speaks to me. But now you're killing it, Flandy. So freaking well done.
Also, it's my favorite to throw the GMs off or DMs off when I ask random questions. My so far my favorite is the caterpillars, spiders, and what was it, scorpions?
Centipedes.
Centipedes. That's what it was. But yeah, I had a spell that I read, and it sounded really cool because who wants to fight a giant centipede? That just sounds not like a good time. So I asked the question, are there any of these critters around? And the answer ended up becoming yes via a roll. And Foos, knowing good and well where this was going, had to bust my bubble at the last minute and be like, you realize those things only have like 2 HP? Like maybe 3?
Yeah, like 4 hit points.
Worth it.
But yeah.
It was
Good
amazing.
times, good stories, always keeping everyone on their toes.
Yeah.
That's definitely my MO.
DM derailing though. I thought your Quetzalcoatlus was the best DM derailing. Or derailing.
Wait, can I hear about that?
Oh my god!
yes.
Please,
I'm not familiar.
Please.
Please allow me to please pause while I pull up a picture.
Yeah.
So
This had none
are you familiar with
for about
Quetzalcoatl?
15 minutes.
Oh, yes.
So Netters was super confused because of the extra syllable. He thought I was being a Flandy and just saying shit wrong. So he's like, you mean Quetzalcoatls? No, you don't know a Quetzalcoatl. I was like, no, a Quetzalcoatlus. There's another syllable there. They're like dinosaurs. He's like, what? They're not dinosaurs? What are you talking about? It's a Quetzalcoatl. I was like, no, I promise. There's this real thing called a Quetzalcoatlus, and it looks something like that. It is
It's
a
so
giant
goofy looking.
bird thing. I have a lot of them because it's become
I have
my
a
thing.
lot of them.
Oh no.
I even have
To
an
be fair,
adorable
it does
one.
look prehistoric. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is no shit, real D&D token artwork. Like, so it turned into a long conversation of I was summoning a creature. We needed to fly, and again, Flandy not being good at D&D knowledge as a whole, I was like, largest friend you can summon with summon creature that can fly. And that came up. I was like, oh yeah, that's actually in this game. Sweet. Hey Nenas, has my character ever seen a Quetzalcoatlus?
Let me give you a little backdrop from Netter's perspective. So I had a
Yeah.
flaming ship filled with like giant horrible
Flaming
bugs
airship,
and who knows,
by the way.
airship that is crashing. It is on a downward trajectory, and
The
anybody
Hindenburg.
with even like pretty much, just thankfully without the helium or the hydrogen. And as it's going down, I'm like, okay. When I wrote it, I was like, the players are just gonna hopefully be like, oh, what's that? Let's go investigate. Not my players. My ranger summons a giant eagle and then takes off after said flaming ship. I'm like, okay, I guess I have to scramble together this because I had the ship, it was just in 2. So now I had to get like one that's like intact and try to throw as many of these monsters as I can. And then in the middle of all this, he's like a Quetzalcoatl, and I'm like, bro, it's like a feathered serpent in the Mayan Yucatan Peninsula thing. It's not what you think it is. And he's very much like, you're wrong. And part of Flanny and I's relationship is like we yell at each other until we come to a consensus. So there's a bit of that. And then finally, I was like, all right, I'll Google it. What the hell? And sure enough, there's this giant goofy ass dinosaur. But yes, that was at least a 10 to 15 minute stun lock on me trying to like wrap my head around it. But
He's been a beloved character in the campaign ever since.
He has been, yes, absolutely.
Gosh, so much confusion. It was. I feel like there are many times where we kind of make poor Netters backpedal, but that's also one of my questions, which I will get to in just a second. But in terms of settings and things, I'm also a huge fan of sort of the high fantasy things, as Netters and I always joke about. But high fantasy definitely, and I do love a world that feels like it's breathing, like even behind the scenes. The idea that like, oh, we did this and we came back and then maybe something changed or something is progressing as you are progressing at the same time. Because it also makes you feel like, you know, what you're doing is so important. Right? Because like in video games, you could get like all the side quests in the world, and one of them is like the main quest, like Witcher 3, right? Your daughter is missing, but you're like, you want to play some cards real quick? Let's just sit down and hang out. There's like, but like nothing's happening in the meantime, right? Like you're supposed to be on this big chase, and it's like you could kind of hang out, and that always kind of like throws me off. So I love when, you know, it's a living, breathing world, and things are happening even as you're doing things, and the decisions you make are very important too. So it's really good. And Netters is amazing at that too. So it's awesome being in his campaign. But I will go on to the next question, which actually I'm just going to kind of roll in because we kind of mentioned it just now. But either whether it was as a DM or as a player, what was a moment that maybe like your fellow player said, or as a DM, your players kind of threw you off with, where you found yourself sort of backpedaling, and then like how did you handle that situation? But we'll roll for this one again to see what order we go in. So go ahead to the chat, and then we'll answer this question. Oh, nice. 20. I got 11 again. 15 for Flandy.
Oh, you want us to?
Yeah. 5 Nenners, showing his true colors.
Get out of here. That crown is not yours, sir.
Maya again, yo. What is going on?
Oh,
He got another natural 20!
Dude, what the fuck? I got to use this dice app exclusively.
amazing.
We're rolling all of our rolls in Twitch now. Why? No,
For
he's not.
real, Maya.
He was just
For
so
real.
proud to get involved with his
Yeah, my-
divination wizard.
Oh my god. Yeah, holy shit. Yeah. Well, that obviously means that Carpe, you get to start us off.
Man, that's so funny. Like, especially with backtracking, because like I'm definitely very stubborn, but I also at the same time, like whenever you sense just fundamentally that it's either not fun or that there's a sense of like, I mean, typically it's some version of, I'm not sure if my character would like get involved with that, or I'm not sure if I knew that fully that my player would have done that. So if it feels to me like I didn't give someone enough information or like really set the scene, then 100% I'm like, oh, okay, let's roll it back. You know what I mean?
Let's change
But
this, though.
the only time I feel like changed something outside of like realizing magic items are broken, I'm like, okay, hold up, we gotta tune that down. I sometimes will have like traps that are meant to just be extreme. Like one a statue, if you fail the con save, you're petrified, like you turn into stone, and
Just instantly?
yeah, exactly. And it's sort of one of those things where it's like, if you remove this jewel, it was very much like Aladdin. Like if you take this thing, it necessitates a con save, but instead of like the Tomb of Wonders collapsing, you just turn to stone. And to be fair, like the room was full of people that were stone, and it kind of was like, it didn't look like they were statues. It looked like these people were petrified. Didn't stop anyone. So in that situation, it was tough because I was like, I could tell the player was bummed. They were like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, you know, like it's a room full of people that have been turned to stone, bro.
Yeah.
And I ended up letting them essentially roll a d20, and if it was a 12 or higher, I think I was like, we'll retcon this, and they rolled like a natural 18, and to me that felt like a little icky because I just don't like to do that,
Yeah.
but I kind of want the rule of fun ultimately to supersede everything.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, that's how we got to roll.
Yeah. That's tough. Jeez.
That is a tough
Instant
call.
petrification. But
Yeah.
also, I have to say,
Yes.
I love the players who were like, is that a big red button? I want to push it.
Exactly, dude.
I love that so
Exactly.
much.
And like, you want to make it feel that's part of making it breathe, in my opinion, is like the stakes need to be real.
Yes.
And it was cool because it brought in a good conversation where it sort of was like me being like, guys, listen, I'm never trying to like screw you over, but sometimes things are like way more dangerous, and that's how it's written in. And I really don't want to retcon that stuff because that's what makes it genuine to me. And so we kind of came to an accord, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a
Now the whole
common
party's
thing,
stone.
Can you imagine the first one does it and they're like, well, surely I can do better.
Yeah.
Everyone's
They would.
stoned.
Self-imposed TPK. That's awesome. That's that's a tough call. I definitely can understand that.
Yeah. I do also like the idea of the chance involved with it. And actually, like, I think Nanners and I do somewhat similar. Not. I have to say, I don't think we've had any kind of situation where it was like, if you do this, you are dead.
Right.
Not to say.
No, ma'am. Freaking Nennas. Numerous times.
When?
Very recently. Quinn with the orb of death.
He gave
Quinn
him a
with the
chance.
staff
No,
of-
because it wasn't like the second he touches that, super dead. He had a saving throw. He had like.
Well, no, he was called. If he failed that save, dead. 100% irrecoverable.
Wow.
Dead. Yep.
But wait, what was the situation, Dinner?
Yeah, let's go.
So, all right, you're getting into Dark Sun. They were the
Yeah.
Orbs of Khalid Ma, is what they gave them, and I reflavored them because obviously they're not staying in Athos. But one of them was the true purpose of it, which was to resurrect her, and basically it was like any moron who got close enough and touched it would basically have their soul like sucked out, and she would reincarnate in their body instantly, full blown sorcerer queen, and begin whooping ass. And they were talking to an archfey who was like, hey, because I like you guys, I'll give you these two, but this one's dangerous. And I'm only telling you this because I like you. Otherwise, I would have given these to you and just watched the mayhem happen. My party's like, well, can we touch it? There's like a 10-minute conversation on that. But one of my players was like, oh, he goes to touch it. And I was like, you need to make a wisdom saving throw. Thankfully, he was a paladin, obviously within his own aura, and he just beat it. The DC, I think, was 24. And just beat it. Otherwise, seriously, I told him like they're irrecoverable. Like outside of a wish or a card of fate or something, which they just burned already. Like hundo percento dead. Like cannot come back. And the party would probably be getting their asses whooped right afterwards. So yeah, that close.
There was
That
the
close.
spirit lady, the betrayer.
Chaos. Also, how dare you say any moron, because Kit is not a moron and neither is Quinn, and they're fantastic and lovely.
Kit knows I
Yeah.
love him. Kibbles and bits. You know what's up.
Yeah, but that was the situation. But again, the odds in terms of the numbers were kind of on his side, just because of his paladin buffs and all that. Not to say that the danger wasn't there, but his bonus to it was still very high. But yes, I think Maya rolled the highest next after that, right?
I sure did.
You sure did.
I don't even remember what exactly the question was anymore.
Anytime a situation, either as like a player or a DM or GM, that has come up that sort of made you roll back something, or like at least recoil in your mind to be like, okay, maybe I should do that differently, or that surprised the hell out of me, and now I'm not sure what to do with myself. And then how did you fix it? Or
As a GM, I have never done a rollback. However, the entirety of the second playtest, both fed me great ideas for how to like rewrite an area, but also terrified me because I realized that all the players there were chaotic neutral in the extreme. To summarize, one of the characters is a recently awakened, as in became sentient, but within a coffee maker, which Ninner's character chained and welded to his robot.
I wanted her to have some autonomy.
you're gonna have to explain just a little bit.
Was his name Folders? Like, this is insane.
Oh, she was amazing.
I love it.
Everything that has happened in this campaign is insane. Okay, so there is an origin known as a race or species in D&D, in which a character can be a former machine of some sort, usually like a automated caretaker or something, like a nurse or a cook or something. But the player was like, yeah, can I say that my character is a coffee maker?
Dude,
I was so taken off guard by the question that I was
so good.
what?
What do I
You
do?
know what? Go for it. Let's see how this plays out. And I never anticipated that this ridiculous coffee maker that spams terrible advertisements in relation to everything that is going on in the environment. Ninner's character decided that because the coffee maker is a coffee maker and therefore not mobile, he would make it mobile by attaching it to a robot that he built. And so we have a coffee maker chained to a robot who runs around and pretty much aggroes every friendly NPC that I introduce because of the weird advertisements and the need to get involved in everything. For example, going into the kitchen of a chef and then advertising other places' foods while he's trying to cook, and then offering to help, but bringing out a wrench bar that has a strict no weapons policy. It was just so many.
Oh my god.
That's right.
I don't know
Leland.
why I love
What
that
you
so much.
did.
It is amazing. And this is also part of Maya's original setting, which is why it's got these like cool sentient, robots and things like that, where it's such a unique world and you can have what she just described happen. That could be a real thing.
Mind you, when I wrote all that, I never anticipated that a player would come up with this shit.
Yeah.
But
Which
when
is
they fail,
completely reasonable.
Yeah.
let it happen.
100%.
We have done things as far as like get people blackout drunk for information and then just leave them on the street to be robbed and pick fights with the person they were hired to protect. Like it's just this is the encapsulation of the whole campaign. It's this expression.
As a GM, this is the face I lived with. All right, I'm gonna pass it to Flandy.
All right, this is I've had almost the exact same scenario play out, both as a player and as a DM. And it comes with again my new found D&D-isms, if you will, but it had to do with backstories and improving a in-depth, believable, and realistic / relatable backstory on the fly has definitely been the backpedal of the day for me. It happened first on my dumb barbarian, I called him. He was a bugbear barbarian. And he was supposed to be a simple man. He came from like fighting rings and whatnot, and was like had no idea what freedom was actually like. And he's out in the world the first time. And our wonderfully caring ranger at random times was like, "Yo, what happened? How you doing? What's going on?" So I was like, "Oh shit, all right, cool. Oh yeah, did you have any friends?" "Yeah, I had one friend. His name was like I don't know, Billy Bob Thornton." She's like, "Oh, what happened to it?" I'm just like, he died." Trying to come up with things on the fly, and obviously as that was a little bit more easy because like, all right, buddy, you obviously don't have too many. All right, we're gonna move on. But it happened again as a GM in my Humblewood campaign. They finally made it to the first big town. Ooh, is everybody okay?
Flaw,
Yeah.
catch that candle.
Our candle, the glass in the candle just broke.
Oh shit!
Oh wow.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna go check that.
Yeah, you should.
It's in a safe space. I muted myself as I was explaining, but carry
Yeah,
on.
I saw
I'll be
that.
right back.
But yeah, so they finally made it to the first town, and one of the characters that's a little bit of the scene there. It's Humblewood is like a critter storyline, basically. I think was Hit Point Press put out the books for it. It's amazing. I love it. It's a more softer run to it, but you can be dark with it, as then there's very well crafted numerous dark stories for his characters. But he ended up with a pacifist turtle, and one of the things he was looking for, he was trying to help everybody. And they go to this bar, and he just starts asking, "Hey, does anybody need any help here? Anybody need any help?" And they're like, "Well, that person's drunk." And then they started talking to this lady, and it turned into actually, I can't do it any justice. I know you're eating dinners, but I'm gonna need you to pause for a second. So you can explain how well you explain how this wonderful small town had a FCC
You just
or whatever.
omitted me from the story.
You were there too. You both can explain it. That just doesn't. That just puts that extra
This is
flair on it.
effective work. That was teamwork. Okay, the two of us figured this out together. Okay.
So we ended up talking to like an NPC because we're like, does anybody need help? And like nobody needed help. And then there's a lady at the bar. I forgot who started talking to her. I don't think it was
like
me.
some kind of like pigeon or something.
Yeah, and we started talking to her, and apparently she like worked in accounting. And I was like, this is like a town of like 30 people. And we kept going. And she's like, it ended up being like she was part of the Securities Exchange Commission of like this town of 100.
That was pure conjecture, by the way. It was clearly she was
like
an
she was doing
accountant.
audits
They're
and
like,
stuff
"What are
like
you
that.
doing?"
Oh my
She's
god!
like, "I
Shady.
can't tell you my client's information."
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
She was shady and wealthy, and she drank fancy
And we're
shit.
like, we're like an accountant that doesn't talk about what they do, but
Yes.
clearly a forensic SEC accountant, and
Clearly.
Yeah, obviously. So that's where I was going. But
Yeah,
So
it was
you
amazing.
that she was the one behind all of those fiery entities appearing in the forest, clearly, so that she could burn the forest down and collect the insurance money. That's what we figured out. Our characters, because they're geniuses. And Flandy doesn't want to admit it, and he can't because he's a GM. We understand, but we're already onto it.
I'll save it for the wrap. I'll save it for the wrap up.
He can't tip his hand. Yeah, but we all know it's true.
Yeah,
I get that.
It was very fun.
At the end of Humblewood, he's going to be like, they knew instantly, and it was terrible. I had to cover it up for so long, trying to
They
pretend
found
that wasn't the
BBG
case.
that was hidden the entire time. But yeah, so coming up with backstories for NPCs that you didn't expect your crew to interact with. Meanwhile, like you give them the clear, like go this way, and it's just never predictable where people are going to end up. So I've definitely learned to have a little bit more strings to pull on, and at least have some depth to those strings. But that definitely was a good back pedal.
It doesn't matter how many strings you create.
Yeah, your players will cut them, I think, is the end of that saying.
Yeah, pretty much. I think
that purposefully seek out the most obscure, like the string you forgot that you put there. It'll be like a ratty.
They will trip you with those strings.
Yeah, it'll be the ratty sneaker string that is on the shoe that you never wear anymore, that you have been through rain and mud with. That just looks like off-white and doesn't even tie anymore without like ripping. That's the one they're gonna pull on.
Oh yeah, and I always feel like it's such a common DM like trope to be like, and then they asked me the NPC's name, and then I didn't know what to say. It's just like, this is a random Joe Schmo on the street. This is this is Tillerman. That's his name. Yes, that's a real name. Is Tillerman.
What's her name? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Her name is
consonants and vowels.
Yep. Like that's all I got. I can't do much more than that.
Just real quick, like that for me has come up quite a bit, or a version of that with a fighter in my campaign, where they will do know your enemy to like the fucking sous chef. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, man, like she has less hit points. Yes, she has less levels of fighter. Like, come on, you know, but it really requires me to like class all of these NPCs who don't necessarily have a class. You know what I mean? But I love it.
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing that I do. I value a lot in the sort of digital, like VTTs, essentially the virtual tabletops, because for commoners or whatever, I have like a bunch of like spare sheets of like what regular people kind of look like, or maybe like what someone else who maybe has a tiny bit of experience but not a lot. So I won't necessarily have, you know, a sheet for every person they encounter, but I can at least pull one up if someone's like, what's his AC? I'll be like, he's got some like hodgepodge leather on, so I don't know. We'll have to figure this out. So yeah, and I think in a like a physical play setting, I think it'd be a little harder to just like keep all that random information near you. So like at least with like the virtual tabletop, it makes it so it's like it's in a folder that I can get to in case they decided to just pull over some woman on the side and start talking to her, and then be like, does she look like a fighter? Like, sure. She does now. Yeah, that is awesome.
I guess.
Hey, why is that grandma so old in this magical mystical town? We have to investigate her.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's
like, very young.
That's unusual. Yep. I think I rolled next, right? Because poor Nenner's got dead last. Yeah, there you are. Enjoy your pizza, Nenner.
Yeah.
I think the only times where I felt like I've had to sort of backtrack is if I guess like the rules are a little kind of wishy-washy, or there's a moment where we're like, I don't necessarily know how to interpret it for this very specific scene. Not necessarily a like, hey, this spell works this way very clearly. But it's like, I don't know, you're in a weird dimension and you're trying to do some dimension stuff in the dimension. What happens? You know, like, or you're like, okay, I guess we have to just really stop and think about this, and then like I in a way I hate when I have to like stop to figure out exactly how something works, because I don't want to like pull my players out of the immersion of that scene. But a lot of the times we value the numbers when it comes down to it. We love our role playing and like everything, but we're also very sort of like tactical players, I've noticed. So the numbers, the nitty gritty, the little important rule sets are important to us. So there are times where I feel like I have to either reread something, or maybe I've been using this wrong the whole time and I didn't realize it just because we're rereading it now for this bananas situation that now I have to like rethink the way we're going to use that spell in the future or whatever. So that's
Infuse. That's so interesting. Like, I'm just curious, like what spells are you thinking about off top? Like,
I'm trying to consider what I know. Well, for example, this one wasn't nearly as bad, but it's one of the first ones that came into mind. But they were using Dimension Door to chase after someone who was going very, very fast. And there was sort of like this person was underground, but that underground situation was in a different like pocket dimension sort of situation. So they were trying to like kind of keep up, but I was like, what the heck does that mean? Like, if you go into that dimension, does that fuck up the time, like the space? Because it's 500 feet, but like, does that still carry through to that section? Like, so it was like, I don't understand. We're gonna have to read and see what happens and what this even means, and or even in reference to like
Justice Foos.
What'd you say?
I know who you're talking about, Foos.
No, fine.
In an orphanage, really, Foos?
In the orphanage, yeah, exactly. Well, he was actually phasing like through the ground kind of thing, and they were like tracking him. I think you had like a locate something on him or something. Like you were able to like know what direction he was going in, and you guys were chasing after him. And it was like, I don't know how to rule. Like if you're going in his direction, if you're going to be where he is, or if it's just going to kind of maybe put you close-ish. I don't know. But yeah, for that particular one, that was one of the more recent ones that I can think of. But I can't remember all the other times that we've been like, let's read. Let's all take a second as a group to read and see what this means. So, but in a way, it's nice to just, have the clarity and have everyone agree on something rather than like making a knee-jerk decision and then being like, it wasn't great, but let's just keep going. So I try to avoid those situations, but when they come up, yeah, I feel like I'm just sitting there like, now I'm in first grade learning how to read again.
Yeah, you're like reading out loud.
Yeah, exactly. And all of us are pretty much like locked down, being like, "What does this spell mean?" or "What does this ability mean?" But it's good though. I do appreciate it, and that means Nanners. Nanners, you're up, man. And you're
That's
muted.
me. I'm no longer muted, so I didn't think that you guys want to hear me chew. But anyway, well, the big one is obviously my little sister, because she does what little sisters do. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but there was a revised Ranger thing that came out and gave her an ability that we now nickname as bullshit. But she basically gets to sit down for a minute or something, and all the little bugs and grass blades talk to each other and tell her if there's her favorite enemy or something within 5 miles or something absurd.
Yeah, it's 5 miles.
Like just absolutely ridiculous. So I had this masterful ambush played out for her, like because she was going back to her home forest after hearing that shit was going down. Had fought her way, just recently killed some poachers. Sits down, does it, detects all the baddies because they're all demons, so they all just pop up. So she knows they're there, and they're like not only there, but like they're in the grove where like all the druids and rangers pretty much like meet, right? So like clearly something is horribly wrong. And I had a whole thing where she was gonna meet like the druid elder that was her friend, and it wasn't her, it was a Marilith who was just gonna like, she draws one sword, draws another, then draws a third, then a fourth, and like that weird like, wait a minute, that's way too many arms. And then that whole scene blown out of the water. So now I have to take that lovely encounter, throw it in the trash, and then immediately scrap together an ambush because she's a ranger. So it's like, we'll just draw them out and murder them. And I was like, I mean, that's a good, I'm not mad at that, but now I got to go do that. Right, meow, because she's mad. So yeah, it was like, oh, and then in that same thing, I also deeply regretted giving her a Vorpal sword. That was young Nenners punishing old Nenners, because that was that's what funny. 15, 16-year-old me didn't understand the implications then. Do now. So I custom made every sword this Merilith had. And like most of them were cursed. She had a crown that like retained the curses. Like it was this huge like multiple thing. And I was like, this is gonna be an exercise in action economy. I was like, this is gonna be great because she's gonna have like all these cool like reaction things. I started off the fight great. I disarmed the paladin right off the bat. I'm like, let's go. And then because the Vorpal sword arm gets lopped off, there goes one of the cool swords. There goes like half her ability. Like what? Second round, she was down like 4 arms.
No,
like,
hold on. I only got rid of 3 of her arms. I only got rid of 3 of her arms. She had half of her arms.
Yep. So that was a big regret and backpedal combination given to me by my sister.
This is a repeat on every multi-limbed boss we faced.
Yeah, anytime there was limbs or tentacles, they were just coming flying off. It was. You got a brain stealer dragon with some cool? No, you don't.
It's like the tail of a lizard. It just like is designed to detach.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
That's how Ravaya looked at it anyway.
She's got to be running. She's got to be running the Faerun Dismemberment League, 100%. Like,
oh my god,
#1 performer for this year.
I mean,
that feeling.
Good,
oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say that feeling of trying to roll back a magic item is. I mean, like it has to happen to every DM. You know what I mean? Like, and then it happens. You're like, oh god, okay. And then, at least for me, from that point, then every single magic item, I'm like vetting. I'm trying to war game out. You know what I mean? Like, how could this fuck me? How could this fuck everything? You know what I mean? But that's part of the fun.
I don't mind if I get my ass whooped. I wanted them to have like a narrative, right? I wanted there to be like a tempo, and that literally just got reversed in the span of the bullshit and the ambush. But yeah, it was good.
And you gotta offer a new shiny. Like, here, please take this instead. Give me that other thing back. You don't want that.
Yes.
That's what Nethers did with Ravaya. He was like, you don't want that Vorpal sword. Look, your dad gave you an heirloom sword. Isn't it fancy? Put that one down.
Her dad, the greater demon.
Demon
Lord, excuse me. Demon Lord.
Correct.
He's not her dad.
Exactly. He's not my dad. All right. So we're going to move on to the next question. Then after that, we're probably going to start doing like a few shout outs to things that we might like. And then, if we have any questions from our chatters as well, we can take some of those. I've been kind of peeking in every now and then. Vogely, thank you for being here. You're amazing and I love you. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to shoot some our way, or especially for Carpe, because we have them for this night only.
Although he's welcome for other nights.
Of course,
just to put that out there.
If you decide to come back, obviously you are more than
Dude, I appreciate that. I love hanging out with y'all, and I would love to be back.
Yeah.
Plenty of trauma to go
makes it
around.
sound like
Although, disclaimer, we're not doing this to screw over your campaign. Although I do feel like everything you witnessed during our campaigns is like evil influence for your next one.
I need it.
This is an excellent torture method. I'm going to go ahead and...
Hey, honestly, I feel like he's gotten more evil DM advice from Nenners than from me. If obviously,
we vibe. We've got a very good.
That's so funny. I loved it. I loved hanging out with both you guys. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I got done with the interview yesterday, and I was like, you know what I need to do is put together a hyper cut of everyone's answers to certain rapid fire questions.
yes,
Because like every single DM chooses mending over spare the dying. And it's like so aggressive to me that these DMs are like, nah, I need to fix my pan, not stabilize this companion of mine. But Ninos did send me down towards Dark Sun, so make of that what you will.
Yeah. I mean, he was also like, "Oh, you have a BBEG fight? No, don't pull your punches."
Yeah, no, he really did empower me.
Nah, it's the end of the campaign, BBEG. This is what your players will be talking about or lamenting. That's what you need, man. Go in there.
Agreed.
100%. Actually, I have 2 questions left, and actually, this one kind of spurred because we vaguely talked about it in like one of our really early episodes. But now that Carpe is here, it might be nice to hear his take on it as well. But how do you like approach, handle, and also I think about player character death in campaigns? Whether that's also, it could also be something that you're watching, not necessarily like playing in, just like just your general reactions to them, any strong feelings, or like how they can be handled in a good way, in a bad way. anything like that. So we're gonna go back to our rolls to see who's gonna answer in what order. Oh my god, I didn't roll an 11 for once. Everything else was 11s. A 19. What the heck?
Yeah, it's. I'm on fire in this.
You should
Twitch
just roll
chat.
here forever.
Wait,
I really
hold
am.
on. Wait, pause. Ninder's just rolled a blank.
A space. What the heck?
You
I
rolled
put a D in there.
Oh,
I put
you
D
did.
by accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. That confused him.
He got
Oh,
his programs confused.
Okay, so he got a 13. It's pretty close. Flanny, what'd you get? A 7.
Yeah.
All right, then I believe that means we're starting with Carpe. Again.
I love it. I demand to go first.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pretty much.
The dice allow it.
Go.
Oh man, I love the idea of like it being the height of combat, and I'm like just mid monologue, and my players are like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I have to roll on Twitch."
Yeah, right. You don't understand.
Oh man, no, I mean, player deaths like I never necessarily like seek them out, but I think it's critical to not avoid them. You know what I mean? It's sort of like there's some situations where it's mad dangerous, like the BBEG. This guy's like coming for your ass. Like it's totally how it's supposed to be, and that's how it is. But there's some situations where the party can't roll above a 6, and I'm not a fudger of dice rolls. I will maybe sometimes look at a creature or a monster's like hit die, and sometimes if I'm like it's going weird, maybe I'll be like I'm gonna roll 2d10 and subtract that from their hit die. That's happened like twice, but for the most part, man, like I think you want to trust your players to go and do it. So if like the only time a player has died, they eventually were resurrected, but it was the heat of combat, and they advanced like really recklessly, and there was like a drow sorcerer there that just lit them up, and that moment of them kind of running forward, like the fog of war was up, they didn't see everybody, and then like all these 6th level spells are coming down. It was honestly, I think, one of the best moments of that campaign, because it really, I mean, it got so quiet, and it got so kind of like, I could tell everyone was sort of back channeling, you know what I mean? Like on the chat. Yeah. And so I don't know. I mean, I think you want to handle it in the sense that obviously if something horrible happens and everyone rolls like crap, like that sucks, but it's also kind of realistic. So I don't know. I try to just not avoid it, because that to me is worse than leaning in, you know?
That's a great point. Is like if you avoid it, then it becomes obvious, you know.
Yeah,
and it just it kind of ruins whatever importance that this situation has. Well,
It's
totally.
just a flesh wound.
Yeah.
It's like not with the Vorpal sword, dude. That's your head.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Which also in our defense too, we had to kill that off a demon to get it. So he was using the Vorpal sword against us, and then we killed him and took it. So it was scary when we were fighting him too, because it was like he might natural 20 us, and then we're just dead, and that's scary as well.
Yeah.
Shing.
Yeah. I think I rolled next, right? Oh my god, because I rolled a 14.
There was a 16.
Someone
I
rolled a
think.
16.
Oh, who rolled
Yeah.
a 16?
Oh, kids.
no, that's Kid.
Oh, kids got in there. My bad. I really enjoy kids. They got me.
Yeah. Okay. I was just thank you for noticing, because I was like, I'm fairly certain I did, but I can't really tell. I have had 2 character deaths, but only one was permanent. Ryland had died, but Ryland being Flandy, and my husband next to me and playing the cleric was able to revivify him. But that was intense too. And from a DM's perspective, I have to I'm so amused whenever someone's like, it got really quiet, because it is the opposite for our team. If it is stress and panic, the DM can't get a word in. It is just and I say this very lovingly, because Nenners gets it when he's stressing us out. We're like, Nenners, he's a bitch, and we don't like him.
The amount of fuck you Nenners I get in the fight is just, it's amazing.
That ain't right.
Exactly. Like I always get amazed when I'm watching other people and like, something's intense and everyone gets into like focus mode. And it reminds me of like when you're gaming on like a couch and you're leaning back and then you're like, okay, this is real shit. And you gotta like
Yes,
lean
dude.
forward. And like I mean like that's the natural response. Our response is just to throw insults and be mad.
That's
was
human.
the background. Yep. When he got knocked out or he was unconscious. And that was also hilarious, or not hilarious, but like kind of a sad moment because like the cleric that they have is a war cleric, the one that Dubs plays. And he doesn't really cast a lot because he's a war cleric, so he could just get in there and melee and like save his spell slots. But because of that, and he had a confusion with a spell previously that was like, I think it was Prayer of Healing, and he thought it was kind of like a mass cure wounds instead, but it's that one that takes 10 minutes instead of the like action. So he was like, oh shit, like because of that confusion, there was sort of like a doubt placed in the group where it's like, well, he doesn't seem to have a lot of like defensive skills for right now. So when Ryland died, it like in the heat of battle, Flandy was like, I'm dead. Like there's no way he has Revivify. And like this was when that Revivify was the highest res they had, so they didn't have a raised
True
dead or anything
resurrection,
like that.
yeah.
So and this was also some crazy shit happening at the same time. So Flandy was like, that's it, that's the end of Ryland, this sucks. And I didn't want to say anything because like the second Dubs got Revivify, he never unchecked it. It was on every single day and like never had it gone ever. So I was like, he's fine. I know he's fine. But Flandy was so like, he was definitely upset. I was like, oh, sorry, man. It's fine. I can't tell you it's fine, but it'll be okay. And then as soon as he was, by the way, my husband at the time, when we were fighting, he was like in and out of sleep because he was very tired. So like he woke up on his turn. It was like, oh, okay. I'm gonna do a big old AoE heal, and he does. And then Ryland didn't get up, and he was like, "But I healed. Why isn't he up?" And I'm like, "No, he's dead." And then like he was like, "Oh, I got him next round. Don't worry." And then he goes back to sleep. And then like his turn comes around, and then he revivifies him. So it's like one player is so stressed out, and then the other's like, "Don't worry."
That was a great night. Like it was. I think that was the point where I realized I was way more into it than I thought I was. Like it was a great like revelation of just like, holy shit, I didn't realize I could care this much about a fake character in a made up world. This is amazing. Also, fuck you, Foos, but this is amazing.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So like I don't much like you said, it's never a DM versus player thing. I'm not seeking death. I've told my players many times, I'm like, in combat, if it's meant to be a tough combat, of course, I'm happiest when they're like, maybe going down, but not necessarily dead. If there's the like very real thing of like someone might get knocked out, then I think that kind of like puts the pressure on the situation and again makes moves and tactical strategies way more interesting. I think so. I also, from a role-playing perspective, enjoy when like player death really affects the other player characters, right? Because it's not, because you can't just kind of like, well, that sucks. We kind of like Tom, but I guess he's dead now.
My poor boy.
Like that has to be like a huge moment for the characters involved. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Nenners is next, right? I forgot what you rolled.
13. Yeah, okay.
That's you, man.
Player deaths. So I guess I'll answer it in two parts. First part, I think I would, if we were doing a level 1 campaign, I would probably have the baby gloves on because I hate the idea of like, oh, I tripped, fell down the stairs, and like bonked my head on a chair and I'm dead. Like that's just, can it happen? Yes. Is that the fantasy I want for you guys starting out? No. So that's also another reason why I never start at level 1. But if I had to, and that was the situation, then that's probably the only time the kid gloves would be on. Because I feel like you're feeling it out. You're level 1. You have nothing. Like you're barely the fighter is barely better than anybody else in melee at that point, other than just stats. So as far as I'm concerned, like I'm gonna try to get you a couple, get your feet wet, get you some experience, and then we can start talking serious stuff. Where I'm at in my current camp, and in general, I would say once you're out of that phase, you should. Death is not something to be avoided, as far as I'm concerned. I started this campaign very high level, so they have and that's kind of one of the downsides of D&D is like once you get to a certain level, death kind of gets trivialized because it's like there's so many ways of getting them back up. There's so many spells flying out everywhere. You can only counter spells so many times, right? There's a set amount of things that you can really do to threaten the players after a while, unless they're going against somebody ridiculous. So there's kind of two things with mine. Is one, I try to do a good job of warning the hell out of them if there's something like, look, this is not the orb, right? You touch this orb, it's not going to be good for you, right? Or if you do XYZ, it's going to be really bad. Or if you pick on this person, they're going to beat you pretty bad. My thing with deaths now are kind of unfortunately as a nature of what they're fighting, their deaths are almost always going to be permanent, right? Roland made a saving throw on Finger of Death. If he died, game. You're not getting.
He didn't make it. He inspiration.
He inspiration. That's true. Yeah, he failed it. And then correct. So
he made saves on her whole hand of death because she
there was multiple fingers.
More than one finger. Yeah.
It was a repeat offender.
The most vigorous fingering that one could ever.
The best is I don't even think we were drinking, but the amount of finger jokes that we had that night was astronomical.
It was.
That's so good.
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, the deaths they're facing now, because again, it's dark, it's necromancy, it's soul stealing type stuff. They do face it, and when they do, it's like, oh shit. There's a real good chance we're not getting them back outside of the most powerful spells in the world. That being said, some of them are 17 and can cast the most powerful spells in the world, so it gets a little dicey at the high end. But I wouldn't pull punches, especially at where I am in the campaign. This is high stakes. The decisions you make are absolutely going to be the ones that you take with you to victory or to the grave. But that's my thoughts on it.
They're level 16 Ninners, is that right?
17, I think, technically, yeah. So they should have just started getting level 9s.
We're kind of technically higher than that too, because you gave us the first 3 levels of a certain.
Yeah, so they have I think I told you a little bit the gelatinis with their so they were able to impart some of their familial knowledge because they helped save the city, and they were able to get like 3 levels in up to a subclass in a class knowledge.
That's like a feat on steroids. I love that.
Yeah, pretty much. So they do have they're technically higher, but in terms of do they have 9th level or do they have capstone abilities? They're still at 17 ish, depending on what they chose. So yeah,
that's so funny.
All right, that brings us to Maya Papaya.
Yeah, repeat the question.
Do you like killing folks or no?
Maya. No, we were just talking about how.
Make sure I answer it right.
That's fine. No, it's fine. It's just in general thoughts about player death, how you handle it. Player character death, not player death. Player character death. How you handle it, how you approach it.
As much as I joke with you all about how brutal you can be, I feel like I might be the super villain of the team when it comes to player death. One, my setting does not allow for revival spells or anything of the sort. Your character dies dead. So,
that's so hectic.
We'll just resurrect them with a diamond after. Nah.
Yeah.
So don't fuck up. The second part of that is the way the setting is designed is you won't die from falling down the stairs at level 1, so I never have to pull punches on anyone, and I don't.
That's rad.
Niggers knows this very well.
Yeah, I've kind of became an impromptu tank for a couple of fights. So
as a wizard,
I was more of like a CC'er, and I ended up kind of CCing with my face a couple of bosses, so it was good times.
So they were playtesters in this Villainize campaign, and what I didn't tell them was that, I didn't have to tell them.
Maya, we lost all of you.
Hard cut.
Dude, we were on the edge of our seat.
I know. It was
we'll never know.
That particular sentence too.
No, that's her proprietary info. She's out.
That's true.
Kid, are
Yeah,
you still alive? Is Chicago still on the map?
Hey, if you want to find out more about what happened, subscribe to Bella Knights.
I have no idea what happened.
Chicago
Oh,
is
that's
safe.
funny.
My
Is
camera
Chicago
just
still on the
decided-
map?
My camera just decided, fuck you forever.
Yeah, just quit.
Yeah, it just quit. It straight up just quit. So I was trying to say, in the player handbook, I guess you could say, what you want to call it, there is a talent called Last Resort, in which if you are, I think it's knocked below 20% of your HP, or you lose all of your HP in between turns, until the end of your next turn, you're still standing, but also you are super buff with all your stats. Basically, like going berserk before you go down, sort of thing. My poor playtesters didn't know about this ability, so they thought that they beat a boss, and it was a very, very super lethal melee boss. So they beat this boss, and they thought he was going down, but instead he let out this extremely loud roar, got roided up, and just with these vicious Wolverine claws, and just started going ham on poor Nenner's character. And it was funny because everybody's just like, kill him, make him go down, kill him, please. He's shredding Nenner's. It's just and they didn't know that this character was going to go down at the end of his next turn because he had no HP. So he was just going ham. He was resisting everything they were throwing at him. He couldn't be knocked down. He couldn't be controlled or anything. He was just trying to rip everybody apart. And there was nothing but panic. And I'm just sitting here like, yes. This is what I want.
Oh man.
I want you to make it feel real.
Watch when Maya starts DMing her Bellin Knights thing. She just blows past our PC death rates immediately. We're like, now we know who the Darkest Campaign holder is.
To be honest, that feels so much like a FromSoft boss. You know what I mean? Like it scares the shit out of me.
Yep.
Like
Imagine,
you know what I mean?
right?
It was funny because after that wore off and the boss did go down, they were reluctant. They didn't want to kill him, but at the same time, they were afraid to not kill him. It's like this thing goes berserk again, we're all done. It was very fun because but yeah, there are a lot of things I have done to players that on one end I do kind of feel bad for, but on the other end it's just like you set yourself up. Like I've had monsters that have sniped players for being in bad positions.
Have you killed a player?
Have I killed one? No, I've come close a couple of times, but I'm just saying that if it gets to that, yeah, I absolutely will murk you.
Yeah. And can I just say, like the idea of, I love so much removing resurrection spells, like not removing like diamonds or making it super rare, just being like above board, they don't exist.
Yeah,
like it's not happening. Like that's very like I love it. It's very intense.
I also do not have teleportation spells or anything like that because I'm just like, I think once you introduce those two elements, it just becomes easy mode once it becomes available.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's more fun when players get to explore it. Plus, they're in the fucking sci-fi setting. Cut your train. Stop trying to be lazy. Just get on the damn train.
Oh my god!
You don't need teleportation. Just get out of here.
Yeah, it's like call a cab like your grandfather did. Okay, like this is how it goes.
As far as the resurrection thing goes, I just can't see a way that works. Like in that particular setting with how things are set up. But at the same time, I kind of don't want one. Like I like the idea of just like if you die, you die. I think it automatically grounds things a bit more and makes them more real. Whereas just like the moment you can resurrect a companion, all of a sudden death isn't exactly the end, and it's not something you totally fear as long as you're not in the Shadowfell.
I'm gonna shoot a shotgun at you, Maya. So when a Bella Knights is officially launched and big and all over the world and stuff, are you gonna be upset if people homebrew revives in your your story?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be upset about it, although I am gonna be like, wimps.
Yeah. Cowards.
Clip that for future uses.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love
You
it.
are weak.
Yeah, exactly.
Couldn't handle the pressure. You gave
You
in.
know that the creator of this whole setting is judging you right now.
You can do it, but I'm gonna judge you.
You absolutely do whatever you want. Homebrew all you like, but for some things I might be like, you're a punk.
Yeah.
Before we
I
make
love it.
Maya slander herself
love it.
some more, Flandy, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting for me because I haven't killed a player yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've almost been killed. And who the hell knows what's gonna happen on Saturday?
You also have been killed.
Well,
Right.
I got brought back. It was
You did,
it was
you
it was
did.
close.
No, you died. Like Ryland died.
It was close. No, he's
I
fine.
had
He's
the
fine.
highest almost died death
It
count,
was-
like pseudo
it was a
death
hard
count
nap.
out of all of us.
It
How
was a
many
hard nap.
players
You know when your heart
almost
stopped.
died?
But in general, obviously you have to have it. Like you can't just everything's fine. That removes the risk. It removes the high reward. Like you got to have some trade off. It can't be, oh well, this is. I guess I'll just build the Taj Mahal because I have all the resources in the world. Like you got to have some sort of challenge there. I will say for me personally, especially as we go through as I do the humble and stuff, I would say there has to be a chance. Like you can't put like a level 99 person keeping the gates and no warning whatsoever and be like, bam, you're dead because I said so. Like you got to give some fight where, oh no, person went down. I have options. Do I make the tough call and fight and go through it, or do I waste my turn trying to stabilize this person who might go down again the next round? Like there's got to be an option. And
Well,
that
everybody
for
took
me-
mending, so they wouldn't even be able
Right,
to.
there's no spare the dying on the whole team.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's a
largest
hard one
choice.
to yeah. What's the was it General Pose? I think Ryland has.
Yeah,
and
that
it's
preserves the
tough.
body. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to select that because you're like, hey, I'll get back to you in a few minutes. I gotta go clobber this guy. And I will admit, last night I was really wishing he had it. It would have changed a few things.
Oh yeah.
But definitely, and it also it makes it fun for your players too because it was great watching everybody freak out last night. Smite him, and I'm like, no, but that's my last spell slot for revivify, so I can't use it. And everyone's like, just smite the bitch.
Yeah. And again, that's what I'm saying. Where like if tension arise, it's yelling across the board.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who's going, what's happening. They're like,
dude. Yeah, it's really funny. I should find some clips in these recorded games because it truly is like the inside of a library during finals. I mean, it is absolutely devoid of sound. Like to the point that if I have too many tabs up, I have to be like, hello?
Did I crash?
Like, guys?
I could definitely see both reactions happening. Our crew, though, we're so rambunctious and we're so ready to fight to get that player back and get back in the game. And no, we ain't going down without swinging. But I could also see that other
yeah, it's that. It's people checking their spells and shit. They're like, what do I have? What the fuck can I do?
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
Our natural defense mechanism is to just throw names at each other and yell. It even works on the same team. I know and then there's this campaign, if things are tough and Maya or Flandy are taking a long time on their turn, I'm like, guys, let's go. What are you doing? It is heat across the board.
Oh yes. And it's great because without that, I feel like, what's the point of playing it? If you can't incite that level of defense and rage and anger and lust and whatever out of your players, why do it?
Yeah.
You're just gonna be like, oh no, I died. Well, I had 3 players in backup. Let's this guy's probably gonna be that's all right. Maybe you wanted to do it, but no, if you don't have a fight for your character that you're playing, why play it?
Super agree.
There was one thing I forgot to mention in my well, sure, this isn't going to endear me on my definitely more evil crowd. But one of the things I never have triggered yet, or the players have not triggered yet, was that in any campaign that I run, there is a chance that there is going to be a group of headhunters that goes specifically after the party, and they are literally built like PvP style, like built to kill players, period. And that was more like if you, I don't know, depending on your choices, if they're a little too reckless or if you like piss off a mega corporation a little too much, just like if you go ham in the wrong direction for too long, eventually somebody's gonna get real mad and send professional headhunters after your crew. And if you are not ready, they will be pulling out all stops trying to kill players. So they will set up ambushes, start sniping from a long range while assassins run in cloaked, and like all sorts of evil shit like that. Just like, yeah, people are gonna probably hate me after this, but it is a thing that would happen in this setting. So
yeah, that just feels like, again, that natural breathing world, right? Like that feels like a consequence, or not even a consequence, but just something that could happen based on what you're doing. Yeah.
Why, Boggle?
Because... I mean, I also did send a assassin to kill my husband's player character, so you know there is that.
No, I do love like big time the players being like hunted or like having some heat. But Maya, like, would this be like a cause and effect? Like the players like burn down like the wrong temple or something.
Yes, I think it's pretty much everything you do, I guess, would generate a little bit of heat. But in this case, if you're like particularly egregious with your choices and just like, for example, let's say you get a bunch of missions and then you decide that you just want to keep doing heists on the same corporation over and over and over again. Eventually, they're just going to be like, yeah, fuck those guys in particular, and get their best guns out to kill you. Like,
yeah, it's a financial decision at that point, right?
Not take you to jail or anything, not tie you up in litigation. No, just straight up murk you. Like, like, be ready for that. Or even if you just make a wrong enemy of the wrong person, like, and I think Nenners has done this as well with Tabrataj. His Illithid, who kind of very vengeful person, except for he was kind of like making it personal and just offering like a lot of background characters. He'll kill your family before he kills you. These people will just go straight for you and then kill your family after they're done.
I love the idea of like your actions are costing people that are in your orbit, not necessarily like with you that you can protect, but
there's a mafia boss.
Yeah, and it puts that level of like, I need to go protect my people, but I can't do that and fight him at the same time. So like there's decisions that have to be made, and I think that's fun.
Nope. Then it's like a picture of your mother's house. It'd be a shame if you didn't like fuck off and leave me alone. You're a mafia boss, man.
Yo, he did that to my character. Like, he had seen like the toll that it wreaked on, like the havoc that happened with the players he was working with, or the characters he was working with, I guess. And he's like, wait, hold on. You know where I live? Guys, I'll be right back. I got something to take care of.
Yeah. Which is also a whole freaking mess, because that whole culture that his whole background that he comes from was something I created for a different game. And when he was getting into D&D, I was like, I could just give you all the lowdown so you don't have to like make your backstory too specific. You at least have this to work off of. So, and also his character in my campaign is also from that same background. And my campaign is a little bit in the future in comparison to his. I think it's like 13 or something years ahead. So we're 18. Like, what was it?
18.
18, thank you. It's 18.
I may have had to do this a lot.
Yeah, we do this quite a bit. So we have a joke where like they're both furbolgs, so they live for a long time. So they're like, technically the character from Nenners' campaign could live to my, the current campaign that's happening. But I'm always like, he's dead. He didn't make it. He's dead. That's why we don't talk about him.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's already died. They're like, Nenner's is going to kill him one of
He's
these
fine.
weeks.
He's fine.
Just gonna
Everything's
die.
fine.
But yeah, like the idea that his hometown was being threatened was like, we have to figure this out and make it make sense, because his brother, which is in my campaign, would clearly, if something catastrophic happened to their family, the other brother would absolutely know and talk about it. And they've also visited the village a few times, so it's like there had to have been some kind of like fuckery that they would at least reference if something really bad happened. So yeah, that's why when Tabrataj in Nenner's campaign was like, I see your homeland, we're like, God damn it, now you have to go defend it and make sure everything's fine.
And his homeland is like very secretive. Like not very many people have been there. Not very many people even know about it. So like it was a twofold. Like A, obviously the storyline issue, and then B, like, oh shit, I left so that it didn't get in trouble, and here I am getting in trouble. Don't look, family members, I'm here to oh gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, they're also harboring like a very like deep and ancient magic that they're like trying to hide from the world. So it's like, not only do you not want your people wiped out, but it's like there's something very powerful there too. So it's like,
it's the oh, I fucked up meme.
I'm in danger.
Yeah.
This, I just think you guys will enjoy it, and it's somewhat peripheral, but like the one backstory that I've had that has really tied into that and hasn't reached the level of like action necessitating headhunters, but was this monk that basically used to, like, a thief background, used to work for like a crime organization in Waterdeep, left an open contract and dipped. And so there was like going to be, basically, I was really excited about that because like, man, like they're eventually going to come and tag you for this for sure. And they did, but it was after he reached like level 11. And I used, I think, the assassin stat block, and all of the damage comes from poison, which monks at that level are immune to. And I just remember I was like, because we talk about retconning and like, and I put, but I was like in the moment, and I was like, I was so pissed. I was like, okay, but I wasn't going to roll it back. So I was like, okay, well, at least they now know that you're fucking immune to poison, bro.
Yeah.
So next time it will not be that.
I think from a DM perspective, that's one of those painful things where you're like,
Also, I gotta give you props. Monk is probably the worst class to try to assassinate one-on-one.
Yeah,
because they get a stunning strike off, and it is just beat down central.
And then you're punching bag.
Yeah.
But what if the assassins are also monks? That's the conclusion I've come to.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right. That's the conclusion
like
I've come to.
Yeah,
but,
rival monastery or whatever. Some
like
Sub-Zero scorpion stuff going on.
Dude, exactly.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think
but that drove me crazy.
Idea in a lot of my like more devious, like I'm gonna fuck the party up ideas aren't actually because I'm malicious about it. It's because, one, I want the setting to feel like very real. Like I want fighting to feel very dangerous. But at the same time, I also want to use that as a vehicle to get players to like literally work together in battle and not, just kind of all run off and do their own thing, because that's easy way to die. So I kind of, because it's not really meant to be like a solo setting or anything. It's meant to be for 4 to 6 players, and I take that very seriously. Yeah. So if you slack, you die.
Absolutely. Well, that is awesome. I wanted to reference Kit's question, which I think Carpe could probably answer the best out of all of us, but he was asking about, would you ever have a campaign with time travel in it? And that is a huge theme for you. So, if you don't mind speaking to that a little bit. Like, how do you handle it? And like, what made you come up with it? Was this a plot you came up with on your own, or?
It is one of those things where I'm sure we've all seen movies or books or situations where like time travel is introduced and it doesn't really feel like it lands, maybe, or it feels like the rules aren't consistent or explained. You know what I mean? And that drove me nuts. To be 100% honest, and this is so random, but I tutor a lot. That's sort of my like, side gig. And I was tutoring this kid who was being tutored in screenwriting. And so we're basically like writing like a movie, like me and this 13-year-old child.
That's awesome.
And it was really, honestly, it was pretty rad. He's a really interesting kid, but he loved Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh,
And understandably, like an amazing movie, right? It's so captivating, it's so well done. Like the way they justify it, but they don't even necessarily explain all of it is a great balance, in my opinion. But, you know, me and him writing a version of that is a hard ask.
Yeah.
especially when he's the lead writer and I'm just like in the writer's room, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
so we started down a thing and I was like, man, it really never has, like, I really would, what would that look like in D&D? And around that same time I saw a prompt where someone just floated the idea. It was called like maybe like micro plot hooks or something like that. It's an account I follow. And they said all the books in the Sword Coast are unwriting themselves. Some of them are becoming blank. Some of them are now containing different information, different text. And I just found it like really evocative. I was like, man, you know, back in the day, like obviously there's no technology, like books are massive. Like there's such this bastion of like, of history, of a way to kind of like grow and better yourself. And if that's changing, like what are the implications? And so that's just basically what I wanted to do. And I justified it with, there were, you know, a handful, about 4 like ancient sites that kind of predate like the humanoids, that were religious sites that connect with these basically star druids that allow you to kind of step across the astral plane to different areas of the material plane. And I didn't want it to like fall apart. So there's really only like a handful of times where it's had an impact.
Right.
But, you know, people that died in a war are now back. And last thing they remembered was like a lance coming down the field towards them. And now they're back, and there's 60 years that are just gone. Their family's dead and they're just sort of broken, you know? And then maybe one other cool thing was like, there was this sort of like this stone that had been carved to mark a big truce between these cities, and they wheeled it out. And instead of it being this like beautifully ornate sculpture, it was just an unhewn boulder. And, you know, I just kind of liked playing with that to sort of present it. And so when they fight this BBEG, they're going to see him like surrounded by this like myriad, almost like a kaleidoscope of time and space, of different potentials. And I hope it all makes sense.
That's awesome. No, that sounds super cool.
Yeah.
I
That
can't
sounds
wait to
really cool,
hear as your players progress through this, because it's super awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. If they live,
That's
it'll be
awesome.
cool.
If they don't, it'll still be cool though.
For
Yeah.
sure. No, for sure.
Boggle has been asking questions too, and I want to make sure we don't overlook her.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I think I totally missed. Did you see any of hers?
I think she asked something about like whether we prefer like role playing versus like combat.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That's a rough one for me, because I can't choose one or the other. I like both.
I honestly view fighting as like the fuel that makes the role play that much better,
Yeah.
because they kind of balance each other out. So it's just like, if you have only fighting, then I feel like it can get very dull and like kind of drag on after a point. But if, like, for example, you have a particularly tough battle or something, and then you're role playing immediately after that, that shit can be awesome. It can
Oh,
be
agreed,
really involved and
yeah.
just like, oh shit, we almost lost our friends, or you know,
Yeah.
like, you know, the many times Foos has KO'd our characters with the year. There's a lot to talk about after battle.
You're fine.
Yeah, no, you
Everything's
killed
fine.
Brophy. We remember what you did.
You did.
Yeah.
But
How
like,
many-
to
How
that,
many parents does Irene have?
you have none. You killed them. I didn't even kill them.
I
You
didn't
killed them.
know.
You killed them. You were like, I'm writing up my character. My
You
parents are
burned
dead.
You fried them, okay? You battered them in bread.
You-
fried them.
You
okay?
killed them. She just had a vision
That's
of her
great.
already dead parents being dead again. That was
You
it.
battered them
You
in
were
bread.
just like, it didn't
My,
take the
like,
first time.
mind
I want to
warper
remix this
dude
to make it even
demon.
better. You
They were already
remixed
dead.
her parents' death.
You
Okay.
killed them. Anyway, but to that point, I can't go the other way either, right? Like I would never be able to play a campaign that's only role play.
True.
Because
Yeah.
like of course the moments after fighting that role play is juicy and wonderful. But and then not to put anyone down who does love that stuff. Like there are plenty of campaigns that I've kind of like listened to in the background where it's not meant to be combat heavy. Like spells or abilities are kind of used in maybe social situations or kind of like heist situations or things that aren't necessarily like, here are the bad guys and here are you. And it's interesting for me to kind of like listen to, but I think as a player and a DM, I very much find myself just needing both, and I think both need to be like important to what they're doing. You know, like Nenners and I talked about this a lot, really. But the idea that I think like in a day they're supposed to have like a campaign, or players are supposed to have like 3 to 8 or something encounters a day. And like for me, I was like, what are you doing that you're getting like 3 to 8 different things happening in your day? And then like also if you guys are standing at the end of 3 to 8 encounters a day, are they that important then? Or is it just like, some random bees decided to attack us and then we defended ourselves from the bees, and then I think every encounter needs to be important and have stakes of some kind too. Not everything needs to be life or death, of course, but I think for the most part, I think for my team that they've kind of realized a lot of times it's like maybe 1 to 2 fights a day. And that second fight, they are ragged. It is not a like, we're good, don't worry.
Yeah.
This is a problem.
Yeah. I'll add on to that. Like initially when I first started out, I thought I was gonna be like, nah, combat, let's do combat. I can do that. That's easy. I can read a list. I can do the thing. And everything's great. And I think as it progresses more, like I'm finding myself enjoying like narrating the combat a little bit more. I kind of wish, D&D was a little bit better at like flavoring things to like work a little bit more. But it's always fun to talk through it. But you do have to have that good balance. There are some occasions where I'm just like, can we just go beat a motherfucker? Can we just? Who's up? Anyone?
Yeah, there was a hilarious like combat drought in both our campaigns, in both difficult terrain and legacy, and it was like 2 months of like lore / talky stuff, and Flandy was jonesing. It's like, we need to fight. Yeah, it is great. Yeah, balance is important, I think, for me.
Yeah, I mean, even if it doesn't involve combat, I think it should still involve at least some like high tension skill social thing, like something that tests people. Like,
of course. Yeah.
There's nothing testing you. I feel like that RP is just gonna like turn into mind-numbing gossipy stuff.
Well,
I think
like the kind of things that happen when people with a whole lot of time on their hands just do. There's this natural sort of like.
You don't want to role play the Real Housewives of Faerun?
Yeah, balance is important. You absolutely have to have a balance.
Yeah.
I think combat is just, in my opinion, putting those emotions and stuff to action, right? You can try to talk with a peace officer all you want, but if he's taking your homie to the gallows and he's gonna hang, and RP is run out, I got these spells.
Yeah.
Get real hard to arrest my homie if you're a frog. Like, so there's there's all kinds of I love the action element of it. And I think there is one issue that I think hasn't really been discussed, is like you kind of also have to avoid having your players see violence as the solution.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
and
sure.
however you map that out, I think most DMs kind of do that inherently with how they place their BBEGs or whatever. But if you're not careful with how you do that, then the RP kind of becomes meaningless, because it's like, well, we're just gonna stab our way through this anyway, right? And then kind of what you guys were talking about with assassins and stuff, like how to like counter belligerent players who do those kinds of things. But yeah, I think combat is the action, right? And,
yeah.
Definitely important to the storytelling element of it, because you can plan or try to talk your way out of things, but some people just have a hard line. They're not going to budge. And doesn't matter what you do or who you convince or how many times you save their mom or give them a pie or something, they're not moving. So Yeah, I think that's
Peace
for me.
offering
I love
pie.
combat because I love the tactical combat. I love CRPGs. I love XCOM, like all those kind of tactical games, Total Warhammer, all that shit. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So for me, it's like, yeah, I get to flex the strategy. Let's go.
Yeah.
My one beef with combat though, specifically, is like in those games, like there's some of it is chance, some of it is preparation, and like in like other games where it's like skill, where like, oh, I put myself in a rough position, but if I make this shot, I'm okay, right? That validates the high risk behavior that I'm doing. But D&D, it's all fucking dice. It's like, well, I prepared and everything I did too. Okay, well,
Yeah. I know.
Amazing idea. Rolls a 3.
yeah. So that is the one, and that don't get me wrong, that is absolutely an element of spice. But sometimes from like a tactical perspective, you're like,
Yeah.
statistically,
Yeah.
I also think when it comes to the combat versus roleplay, a good standoff, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like a moment where the group of heroes is faced with an opposing group of equal skill, and both sides know that if they get into this fight, somebody's dying. Probably multiple people, so we need to maybe not do this.
the old Mexican standoff. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like,
in like the cousin of that, or at least for me, is like that version of when they like either the trap is so obvious, or the threat, like the burgeoning violence is so clearly there, and like whenever that RP is then leading into combat, like that's some of the most satisfying for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I mean, this is, it just maybe bears mentioning is the moments whenever mid combat, you can have some RP, right, is just so spicy. Like it just feels so satisfying.
Yes. 100% agree.
Foos loves that with her villains.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
I said Foos loves that with her villains.
Oh
They
yeah,
should talk us all the time, but we're fighting them.
they should talk almost all the time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my
Yeah.
favorites to shit talk you with were the mind demons for Nirja. Because almost all of them were like crazy in some kind of way, so they were able to just like fuck with you guys, and I love mind bendy shit, so I was like, this is my
Shut
stuff.
up right now, Food. Time your shit.
It was such a good time. I had a good time.
Dude, I really stand by that like the ultimate BBEG power flex is just using time stop to monologue. You know what I mean? It's like you just like, here's why I brought you all here today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's sort of like walking through, you know what I mean? Like that shit is so good. I don't know. I love it.
Dope.
Like,
oh god. I mean, the fight they had last night, actually, I fully intended on being like, he's gonna stop and have a conversation. But the Joe, wonderfully role-playing his NPC that I basically handed him, just immediately rolls into combat, action surges, and does like 80-something points of damage in the first round. And I was like, well, I guess he's not talking. So here we go.
He's bleeding is what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's the other, like, my other favorite part about combat, especially like when you're mixing both together, is you never, like, not knowing if there's another session coming behind, if there's backup, if there's another scenario that's going to happen, and juggling, like, do I hold my punches in this fight and just make it a little bit more rough and long, or do I give it everything I got and hope things are better on the other side? And it's a great balance. I don't think I would be happy if it was just you had this big fight. Oh, look, you made a beautiful long rest. Everything was fine. Now here's another fight. Like it having the stress of like, shit, am I prepared? What if I don't use everything? What if I do use everything and need it later? What if I don't and I die now and then I have all the storage in the bank and I can't use it because I died?
Yeah, and Nenners is incredible. Sorry, Maya, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there is one thing in combat I think that gets overlooked, is that combat can tell a story without you even intending it to.
Yes.
Like the first battle that the test gang got into in the first test campaign, they were fighting all these like super lethal enemies, right? And like one of them like sniped Vogel's character from a distance because she poked her head out, and like the other ones were coming in and doing like all this foul acid and like trying to grapple people and everything. It was really nasty. And the one like hound type thing that I intended to be like a very sturdy tank. Because of the way the battlefield was organized and the way like the monsters were coming in to attack and the way the party was defending themselves, pretty much prevented the tank from getting in right away. So it turned out to be this ridiculous, stupid hound because of the terrain and like the way. So instead of like every turn for like 3 turns straight, it was trying to get in and get into melee range and failing like its acrobatics checks to climb. And so it would try to climb a cliff and then slide down and it'd just be like barking uselessly at them. And then try to go another route, fall, start barking uselessly. And in a whole fight, it's just all bark, no bite. It is like you had this useless monster who's just sitting here, able to actually get into the fight until it was the only one left. And then they just punted it. And I'm just sitting here like, that was supposed to be the tank.
Yeah.
And it just couldn't even get in to do the thing. And now it is just a stupid dog that couldn't tank right. Like, just a couple of bad rolls could just completely annihilate a badass.
Dude, Maya, like that feeling of when it's somebody and it's a villain, you're like, okay, man, they're gonna come in, and then they somehow get like put in almost like a ridiculed situation is just takes the air out of me so quickly. I'm like, God damn it. This is serious. He's serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're supposed to be really scared right now.
Yeah,
He's a very dangerous man.
You have no idea how lucky you are, okay?
Yeah.
but like only just because like Maya made me think of it. That same idea of like combat telling a story, and it is basically what you said is like sometimes the tactics of the enemies I think can communicate so much.
Yeah.
You know, some version of, you know, kill the priest. You know, or, you know, some version of like, you know, bring me him, you know, or whatever. Like, I love communicating why baddies are there in that way to be like, now we're here for the blue dragon board, dog. Like, honestly, y'all could throw down your weapons. Like, it doesn't matter, but 6 of us are going after him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
your buddy Sean, we're going to kill him tonight.
Yeah. You know him, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I don't want it to go too late, just because I know it's a weeknight, and for us East Coasters, it's getting a little bit later. I have more questions, but we'll go on to what I totally stole from you, Carpe. Is a sort of rapid fire kind of situation where it is this or that, and we roll through everybody, and you get a chance to answer. So
and some of us are really bad at it.
Yeah, some of us are really bad at it. We're not naming names or anything, but Nenners, good luck.
Damn.
I love you, Nenner. There are some things we excel at. There are other things we do not excel at. Some of these this team has seen before, but I just wanted to bring some of these back again, and we'll just go through them. We'll go through them in order of sort of how we look on stream. So I will answer, and then it will be Carpe, and then Nenners, and then Maya, and then Flandy. And then I will the next one.
Just rolled.
Oh, everybody rolled. Yeah, no.
120 immediately validated. I'm tired of shit foods.
Yeah, and Maya got a 20. What the hell?
Back to back. That's so
Holy
good.
Shit. That's
hey, does this mean I get Irene's spell slots when she dies on Saturday?
He's got a 20 as well.
Anytime that Maya cannot make it, Nenners is like, can I have her spell slots?
Dude, that is
just
so
give
funny.
them to me.
The idea of being able to hand a person spell slots like you would a sword is so funny.
Yeah.
I never thought about
I
it.
want you to know, if Valen dies, he's going to bequeath to you his spell slots.
Which is
My
going to be
arcane
a level
power.
1 because everything else was used.
Yeah, but he died.
I just want you to know that I'll never have any level 4s, and that's because I party with Ryland. They all go to him. Okay, so we'll get going.
Purveyor
I
of
will
the
ask
level 4s.
the first question. Misty Step or Dimension Door? And for me...
Yep, sorry.
No, you're good. For me,
what was the order? My bad. I just didn't.
No, you're good. It's me, and then you, and then Nenners, and then Maya, and Flandy. No worries. You're all set. But yes, Dimension Door or Misty Step. I love Misty Step just because it's the bonus action. It's real quick, and I think as a DM, I've just realized how important it is because I have grappled or restrained or entangled my caster so many times, and they're like, "Oh, what a shame." Whoop. Like, well, all right, that's all this guy does, and goodbye, I guess. And then they get their whole action after that. So yeah, I became a lover of Mrs. Step. Best.
No.
you're up.
No, 100%. Like I think Dimension Door sometimes gets me because of, I think it's a 4th level spell slot, right? Like sometimes for me it feels a little expensive as a spell.
Mhm.
So I think that plus the bonus action would kick me to Misty Step. I also, again, because of this extremely problematic monk, have sort of just like given some characters a robe of Misty Step. Like just because I'm sort of like, okay, all right, dude. Like you're not gonna stun him. He's bamfing away. Like, and I feel like it can really spice up combat in a fun way,
Yeah. 100%. Nenners.
Dimension Door all day. Mainly because, well, first off, I'm in a campaign where I get chewed on a lot, and my teammates get chewed on a lot, and I can't always see where I want to be, i.e., not in someone's mouth. So Dimension Door is absolutely a necessity. It is expensive, I agree, but the idea that I can dump me in the middle of the air and then fall and be like, oh, I got some time to cast something else, or whatever.
It's done before.
Yeah, there's all kinds of like.
That's
it is a
funny.
high price thing, but it is, I think, powerful enough to justify it, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. All right, Maya.
I'm a filthy cheater because I play sorcerers. So if I can't do Dimension Door as a bonus action, wait, yes, I can.
Yeah, cooking spell, yeah.
Oh, hold up.
It just becomes Misty Step plus at that point.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that you can like meta magic Dimension Door is why I ultimately choose Dimension Door, because you can do so much more with it than just save yourself. You can save your buddies. You can just bonus action cast that. I have delicious ideas. But like bonus action cast Dimension Door with your meta magic, and then you're in melee range to fuck people up. Like
Yeah.
it's a great ambush tool. There's so much tactical usage you can get out of it. Whereas I feel like Misty Step is just like the get away button.
Yeah. And Flandy.
Totally.
Oh, it's so difficult because I've seen both of them do wonders.
Yeah.
As a paladin and as Ryland, and having the oath to have Misty Step naturally is killer. That bonus action, get away, catch up, whatever it may be, and then still be able to swing, smite is killer. Now, Dimension Door has saved quite a few asses, especially with Fooz's bitch ass runners who love to sprint like 900 feet per round, ridiculous amounts. But we have other ways around that. So, Misty Step is the word I was trying to say. All
right, very nice. This is a shout out to Maya for this next question. Orphans or living parents? For your character creation. I'm going living parents for that one. Carpe.
Dude, I love that. Like some of these I'm like, I'm adding that to rapid fire.
Please.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's got to be orphan. I mean, like, I'm such a closet like edgelord with my characters. You know what I mean? Like everything is so like the 4th act of fucking Hamlet. You know what I mean? And so like it's like that for me. I didn't know what a trope it was, until like I was like a year into the campaign. So I think just for nostalgia, I have to go orphan.
Okay.
For my character creation, I went both. Because my parents jettisoned my character, so he is both an orphan and has parents. But if I had to choose, I would go with parents just for the narrative shenaniganery that could happen.
Yeah, all right. My papa?
I'm sure I don't have to say it out loud. You know what?
So Kentucky Fried Parents. Got it.
So
no.
Edgelord.
A healthy relationship with 2 living parents.
Under normal circumstances, the characters I create usually have one or more parents. However, when I was creating Irene for Fooz's campaign, I was on a severely limited timetable. Didn't have time to go into all that shit, so I killed the fuck out of him. And then she re-killed him. She re-killed them in the most horrific possible way. Just to make it sick.
I did not re-kill them. Anyway, Flandy.
You fried the parents like they were beans.
That's a toughie. Because parents is great because you have something to touch back on, but I feel like depending on the storyline, I would have that would make my determination, because sometimes it's easier to go out and do these crazy adventures if you don't have parents and you're just finding yourself in the world. But if I had to, if gun to my head had to choose, I would have to go parents, I think.
Okay. It's pretty split actually on those answers there. All right, next question. Animal companion or magical familiar? I'm being a ranger. I like animal companion because they're there because they want to be. As a familiar is like I'm just gonna summon you and here you are. Oh yeah, Carpe.
Man, that framing makes it super hard for me, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I think it's probably familiar for me. Like I do enjoy, like I feel like wizards in particular, right? I mean sorcerers too, but like are such like little softies and can go down so quick. So having a familiar that can sort of be the expendable eyes and ears. But it's funny because both, I mean, animal familiar is beefier, of course, but both are like pretty expensive to bring back.
Yeah.
And so I kind of enjoy that in that sense where I'm like, okay, it's a familiar. It has 3 hit points. Like I am broke. I need money for paper. Here we go. You know?
Yeah.
I would go familiar because first off, I have severe beef with how D&D handles like animal companions and their lack of scale. Like once you get at a 5th level, they're just one-shottable and you're gonna cry. So and in that regard, I'm gonna go with familiar. Also because it's just, I think it's just more flavor to it. Yeah, that's what we go with.
Ninners, I'm mad at you now. Because you fully converted me over to animal companions through that Pathfinder shit. And now
hey, Pathfinder girl.
Animal companions in 5e are squishy as hell and can get one-shotted after level 5.
I mean, thanks to Nenners, like again, we homebrew a lot of our stuff because original animal companion, I wouldn't play that at all.
It's
but
whack.
Because we were like, no, we're adjusting that. And yeah, animal companion. But anyway, go ahead, Maya.
Well, thematically, I have been converted to appreciate animal companions very recently. Yay. And have it so bad that when I play these RPGs, I will have a party of 6 characters with 3 animal companions. Man, I got a group with a horse, a velociraptor, and a giant dire wolf. So
you need to play Wasteland 3 with Flandy, and then come talk to me about animal companions.
My thunder. Don't steal my thunder.
Flandy, it's your turn. Go ahead.
So Roosie's both. So I love it. Really fancy. We'll talk about that later. So normally it's animal companion for me, but I had to throw a shout out to Wastefacers 3. I can't say the proper name. A, we're not sponsored.
Wastefacers.
I'll type it in the
say
chat.
The name right. There's 3 different games that all like have 2 words to them that start with a W and something else, and it's so similar. And dyslexia is a bitch. So I can't say it right.
It's okay.
But this game, I love the idea of a familiar that doesn't want to be your familiar and is just a sassy motherfucker. There's a parrot that you can pick up in this game, and like he's like just belligerent, like "fuck you, you call that a hit, bitch?" Like crazy dialogue going on. You're just like, "Yo, chill, buddy." But yeah, so sassy familiar all day long.
I love it. That is awesome. It definitely seems up your chaotic road. So that's good.
No.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Would you rather, if you're attacking, would you rather have your enemy roll a saving throw, or would you rather roll an attack roll? I
that is his answer.
I know
Wait,
that is his answer. Because Nunners gave me a Vorpal sword, natural 20s feel real good. They still feel good, even though I'm not using the Vorpal sword. I love rolling them. So I'd say attack roll for me.
Man, yeah, I think I probably have to go attack roll. Obviously, it depends on the character a little bit and like how misbehaving my dice are, right? At that
Yeah.
point in time. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put it on you, dude. How about this? How about a trip attack? But I think ultimately, yeah, it's like that feeling of waiting, especially on like a big roll, the third attack, or like you action surged and now you're trying to like bring it home, it's so satisfying when it does land.
Yeah.
Like it's a great feeling.
Agreed.
For sure. If I didn't have Foozca as a DM, I'd probably say saving throw, because she rolls 17 and up minimum.
Yep.
Which means the guy either has a negative or I'm failing it. And yeah, anyway, so long story short, I'm going to go with the attack roll for this particular one. But my heart is with the saving throw if someone is fair and balanced.
If you had asked him that question like 2 years ago, it would have been saving throw because he was mad about being in the Low Rollers Club. Just throwing that out there.
Love it.
The point is, Nunners is always mad. Maya, you're up.
Well, last night I got to enjoy being in the Ninners realm of trying to land things that required saving throws and not get shit. So I too am a fan of attack rolls.
There you go.
They typically have a better shot.
You would think that I would say attack rolls,
Yeah.
but I actually am a fan of saving throws, and the reason being is it's a different feeling when they pass. Because like an attack roll, you roll like shit, and you're like, I guess I just forgot how to swing my fucking mace that I've been swinging for all these times. Whereas that saving throw, it's like, fuck. Or like, yeah. I love the skill and abilities out of your hands at that point. Obviously, the saves on your side, but the skill isn't there. Like a critical fail swing is fine, but 3 of them in a row in a big fight's like, really? Really? Come on, guy. Like,
Yeah.
So, saving throw.
All right, there you go. Next one is sending or scrying. I love kind of the mental manipulation that sending could be, because if you think about it for a second, if you get anyone who's powerful enough to cast that spell can bother anyone as long as they vaguely know them. You could see someone on the street and then be like, I'm gonna ruin that dude's day. Just send him something at 4 a.m. and be like, what are you doing? I can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know, like the shenaniganery with it. I love it. So that's for me.
Definitely nobody is ghosting a mage, right?
Right.
Like you will hear from me. You will be hearing from me.
Yeah.
But I for me it's scrying. Like I love making players like make the wisdom throw, like apropos of nothing, they'll be like in a tavern. I'm like, oh, by the way, Gleb, make a wisdom save. But it's also, I think, super fun, like mechanically to scry on a location. Like that sometimes can be super duper rad. It, basically auto fails. And so you can just like pop it up in a location and see. And I don't know, as a player, it's one of those like really cool mechanics that's like so specifically built into a spell that I just love it. Like I love how specific it is.
I think sending is cool. Oh, wait, do I go?
You take my turn? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I lost the turn order. I'm so sorry, man. Please, sorry, please forgive me.
Nothing to forgive. What are we doing? Sending or scrying? I would say I had an answer that left. I use sending more. I think there's something so visual about having like a security camera in a fantasy setting. That that you can call upon. I mean, sending is obviously incredibly useful. Like, hey King, there's a traitor in your court. Watch out! Like that's obviously awesome. But but being able to visually see what somebody's up to and they don't know, there's kind of a voyeuristic element to it, and there's also just enough for you to want more because you can't hear very well or at all in some cases. Like, I'll go with scry. You were correct.
Maya, you're up.
To piggyback off of Ninners, I think sending has a lot of utility, but scrying is potentially very hilarious, and I'm a mischievous person. So one of the things I would do if I ran a fantasy campaign is have a wizard that always cries at people but has no pants on, just to make it. You don't know if it's pervert or just weird or lazy, or like maybe they've got the robe, but it's not like a wizard robe. It's just a bathrobe, and they're just crying. You're like, what the hell's going on here?
Oh, that's so
Why are
good.
they crying? Why don't you have any pants?
Amazing.
There's so much funny shit you could do with scrying. Because I mean, the scrying sensor can be detected, right?
It can be if you have
See
seen
invisible.
visibility, yeah, and you have to
Invisibility,
like have a passive perception and whatever. But yeah, it can be detected. It's just not common.
So right, I think as a funny scenario, this is what I would do because I'm a terrible person.
This is rapid fire, girl. I have 2 more questions.
Oh no,
I'll
it's
be real
not.
quick.
We lost that a while ago.
Enemy wizard puts down scrying or
I'm not the
covers it with detected visibility, breaks down the wizard door. Wizard has no pants on. What do you do in that situation? So funny.
It is hilarious. I love you, Maya. Flandy.
So, watching on people is creepy as shit. There's a 2-part reason why I choose sending. A, to fuck with people like, hello, it's me.
Yeah.
And then not announcing who you are and be like, who the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
how'd you get this number? And then B, shout out to fucking, oh man, what's his name?
Shit.
Oh, I just lost the name. Critical Role robot guy right now.
Yeah.
Really bad at name. Anywho,
Freshman Grill.
yeah. it's
Freshman
not
Grill
his
is a
character,
place
it
I
was,
work. Sorry.
yeah, it was before him, but the like message, important stuff. You can respond to this message.
Yeah, right,
just
like
that fun, playful end of it is I like the playful part of it. That scrying, like it's definitely useful, but it like I feel like if either of my characters would be like, this feels gross. No, we're just gonna all right, we're done.
I love that for either of your characters. It's just like, oh my god. All right. Penultimate question is Flandy loves that word, so I have to say it. In terms of character creation, do you prefer making faithful characters who have a deity that they worship or follow, or a faithless character that is based off of no deity or worshiping at all? Despite my like choices, I feel like I've kind of been growing to love some of the interactions that can happen between deity and like player characters. So I'm kind of leaning towards the faithful ones at the moment, just because that can be really interesting. But like, I think all of mine right now are faithless. But in general, I think they're cool. But that's me.
In Foos, I'm curious, like, is that if they're faithless, like, is it inherently then not a paladin, not a cleric, like automatically? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I think so. For that, it would have to be. But I think in terms of like creating the character and like before you even think class, like, are you thinking about that kind of relationship, and do you prefer that to be a big part of it, or should it not be?
I think oftentimes there is some huge like dogma to my characters where they're sort of like, I mean, even the druids are kind of like are like all good and peace and love, except for like tieflings who burn down the forest and like they gotta go. So it's like there's huge flaws, right? Where they're kind of like, well, that's not cool. Like not all tieflings, dude. But the but the idea of I think the idea yeah, I don't know why I'm beefing with tieflings right now, but the it's like, yeah, they're also serving a hard time right now. But I think finding a character that isn't necessarily like serving a deity, but has a really specific code is fun for me.
Yeah.
Like the rogue that won't steal from the poor, like or the rogue that'll steal stuff and then like get a feel for him and like maybe sleight of hand it back. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And I just think it can be a fun way to create a system that then can make role play both like easy and super satisfying,
Yeah. That's a good point. Being like having a faithful or whatever character, even one with a code, kind of gives you something to lean on if you're like, how would I act in this situation, or how would my character act? Yeah, I agree. Nice.
I think, well, so the faith question is interesting in these kind of conditions because it's like it's obvious gods exist, right? Like there's demonstrable evidence that they're here. So the faith is no longer in, do they exist, and is my blind faith justified? It is more like, do I have faith in that particular entity to do what's right or wrong or whatever the hell you're thinking of. So I always find it hard to be faithless in these situations unless you're super jaded and you learn some horrible secret about something. But that's always like on one, you'd have to annihilate the whole pantheon on that. I'm like, or just be incredibly ignorant, which I guess could work. So I'd probably go with faith. Also, the little Warhammer, like, all sinners fear the Emperor's wrath. Like, I love, like, just fucking, like, just absolute fanatic. I can never play one because I kind of don't like paladins and I kind of don't like clerics, so I can't really roll deep in that. But I love the flavor of it.
Bullshit on that. We were playing Warhammer 40k Dark Tide, and like we would say shit, and this motherfucker would get right into the king will have your head for that. Like what? Like just getting into it. Like he absolutely can. Don't let him lie to you. Don't let him fool you. He can 100% role play super faithful.
And with that throwing of under the bus, Maya, it is your turn.
Faithless. I am a fan of like philosophies and like certain moral setups, though.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't recall. Well, I do have a couple. Like I have a cleric, and I think my hexblade is a faithful violet stray. But it's hard for me to like do that the faith thing.
Yeah, Flandy.
It's tough, right? I would probably say faithful, and kind of the similar caveat with Ninners and whatnot. Maybe not to a specific deity, but like faith in a code or a person or a group. You know, faith that things will happen the way they should. I think faithless is definitely quite difficult to do. You gotta believe in something, right? But if in terms of deities, ironically, Rylan was supposed to be like completely faithless and jaded by a deity, which will kind of come out still, will play out a little bit better. But that's why he has the relationship he has with Myliki, and is like, yo, you're my friend, you're not my deity, but she allows it.
Yeah. In this situation, she does, yes. Yeah, actually, Carpe was talking about Myliki has a big part in his storyline too. And I was like, that's my paladin's deity. Don't do anything to her.
Yeah, and I didn't know at the time that
That's awesome.
Flandy was a vengeance paladin. Like that says.
Oh no, he
the ancients.
Ancients.
Oh, my bad.
No, yeah.
He's the nature one, yeah.
Yeah, it's the great like, it was a morphing / fitting, and it just kind of worked out to play the way it needed to play. Like, it was great.
Yeah, super agree. All right, last question, and it is between spells once again. Moonbeam or Call Lightning? I'm a lightning girl, so I'm doing. Lady has strong opinions. I'm a lightning lady, so I'm gonna call lightning because I love zapping a motherfucker. But I will pass it off.
Man, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say no to zapping a motherfucker. I mean, it's so tough. Like call lightning. The fact that it is upped by a storm being present is so sick, right? Like that inherently is extremely just cool to me. I probably honestly would go Moonbeam though, because like the fact that you can push shape changers back and like force them to revert is just massive. Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, druids or someone that's polymorphed, or hell, if it's some like high level wizard that's like casting true polymorph, like, can you imagine? So I think probably Moonbeam, because it's like it can just really wrench up somebody's plans, Yeah.
And like I think shape changers even get disadvantage, right? Like I think if they're in it, so it's like not only can you push them out, but like they're probably gonna get full damage. So
Yeah.
Whew,
I think that's right.
No, there's your up.
I love your attachment and like knowledge of druidism. I always find that awesome, because we don't really have like a true druid person in our crew. Foos is more of a ranger than a druid than she'll ever be, and she'll never admit it, but it's true.
I was really always
Long story short, the answer is call lightning because I love the thematic, like just having the storm cloud around and just zapping people. Like that is just that is the shamanistic vision, right? Like that is it's so awesome. But anyway, I'm going to pass this over to a very angry Beaker Maya. Let's see what you got.
How you gonna do me like that, Dennis? I literally play a whole ass druid in your campaign. Shut the fuck up. I'm pretty much an elementalist in every form you encounter my characters. How dare you? I love nature. Therefore, as much as I love the moon and thematically, I think it's very cool. I want to hit people with lightning, and also I have a mean Sith streak, so I just want to go. And,
The Sith streak is real with lightning spells for sure.
For real.
Give in to
real.
your hate.
Yep. And Flandy.
I've only had one good experience with Moonbeam, and that was due to a lot of cheese. And it was like the first encounter I had. I was like, or no, it was a little bit later on, but we were fighting with Yuriana, and her whole symbol was the moon. I was like, Foos, hear me out. So Moonbeam doesn't normally do this, but can it just like, we're helping the moon goddess. Can it just kind of like, just a little bit, zap that motherfucker? Only good time I've ever had with Moonbeam. Other than that, I average what, 6, 3 on my Moonbeam rolls.
That's not including damage to yourself, sir.
Correct. The average is real low.
The psychological damage.
Yeah,
He actually accidentally in a boss fight like hit himself with his own moonbeam, and then after that, the boss hit him, and he just hit him with just enough hit points to knock him out. So if his moonbeam hadn't hit him, he would still been up.
Dude, that is brutal. That will definitely make you remember Moonbeam forever.
There was a time you did use your moonbeam as a spotlight to help Irene snipe people, though. That was super cool.
This is true, but still, fuck Moonbeam. There's something that's super powerful about summoning a giant cloud and be like, I'm a lightning your ass. Like, that fuck Moonbeam.
Fuck Moonbeam. All right. Well, with the conclusion of this, I'm going to have us just kind of go through everybody one more time. Introduce yourselves or just saying goodbye. Let them know where they can find you. And also, this is our opportunity to kind of spread the love a little bit. So if there's a channel or some other creator that you want to shout out before we leave, this is your opportunity to do it as well. So we'll go in the same order as we did for the questions. So I will get started. But once again, I am Foos, and I play on here on Fridays as a player and Saturdays as a DM. I think the person I'm going to shout out is I actually wanted to raid them yesterday, but because Mandy was doing her debut of that campaign, I didn't get to. But I raided her instead. But I just recently found, I think they're called Dice Lore, if I remember correctly. I'm just going to cut them out real quick. And make sure that's correct. That's correct. Good. All right. And they're a relatively small channel, but they clearly like are friends and know each other. And there have been a few nights where I've just been kind of like watching them in the background. And it's also a channel where I was like, I think it's really rare to see people be like, are you comfortable with that? Like, if you're uncomfortable, like, then I won't push that theme, because there was a mention of, as terrible and dark as we are, we talked about like orphans and dead parents and we were laughing, but they were like, do you want to talk about dead parents? Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And then they rolled on with the scene. So I was like, that's really good, like safety table stuff. And like, they're good friends and stuff. So I like their stuff. Check them out. And thanks for being here. And Carpe, you're up.
Man, I mean, I'm Carpe the DM. I stream a lot of D&D stuff. Come through if you enjoy it. I feel like I know so much of your chat and love them already. So I'm just like, hello, friends. Yeah. It's funny because you told me to be thinking about it, and I was like, damn, like, I feel like we know so many of the same people and shout them out. But there's this guy named Janslow, and I'll go ahead and drop it. He had his first stream today, actually, and it cracked me up. Like, no camera, no audio. He was just playing and responding to chat, and like, he came through a couple weeks ago on a D&D prep stream, and just clearly loves D&D. And I don't know them well, and so I hope they're not like a closet problem, but they have not vetted them, but the initial takeaway was like they were just very, very sweet and looking to connect. And so I don't know. I enjoyed that. Like, I think they're probably a good egg.
Yeah, let's say hi to them at some point. That's great. Spread the love. Nanners.
I'm Nenners. You can find me here as a victim and a DM, depending on the day of the week that it currently is and what we're doing. But yeah, I hang out here mostly, sometimes with Flandy. Also, probably being a victim to some sweaty Destiny nonsense where we're running around trying not to die or die well. But all that aside, I actually don't. My Twitch crew is like I just inherited it from you guys. But I will shout out No Nat Ones on YouTube because he is really cool with Pathfinder stuff. And I know with the old OGL, people are like abandoning ship. If you're getting into Pathfinder, No Nat Ones is amazing. He has guides on just about every element of that game you could possibly think of. And some of them are long, some of them are short, depending on what you want. But he is an excellent, even like from a D&D to Pathfinder conversion. If you're like, hey, I want to take this fighter, I want to make him in here. Cool. He's got guides for that too. So check him out if you're interested in the Pathfinder universe.
Yes. My papaya.
For doing shout outs, I think Dispel Logic deserves a shout out. Because their campaign is fucking brilliant. And I was fully glued to the screen when I was watching that. At the same time, I also want to shout out Insomnia Knight for being a filthy traitor. So, congratulations, Insomnia Knight. I'm disgusting.
We love you, Insomnia. You're amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah. Again, I'm Maya. I play characters in the Nurse Foos and Flandy's campaigns, and am building a sci fantasy campaign of my own. So, setting, not campaign, but also campaign. You know what? Words. Flandy, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Flandy again. Flandy Pants. I respond to pretty much any amalgamation of Flandy.
Remember that man called you Pants? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Pants. What up, Pants? Thanks for joining tonight. Okay. But no, I am horrible at reaching out and finding new things. My time, we see so many great people when we raid at the end, and it's so difficult to keep up with everything. But if I had to choose one to shout out, I would choose. I just had it pulled up. Did I paste it? Hero Zone. That's it.
He's ready. Hero Zone. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
They're great.
Hit enter. There it goes. No, he seems to be a great guy. We've been in there a couple times. Trying to keep a local game shop up and running, and he'll be the first to tell you that his stuff's more expensive than you can get on Amazon. But the culture that he brings, and obviously I'm not fully embedded in that, but we hopped over there and just instantly all about giving and helping other people find a love for this kind of stuff and get people started. Guides, miniatures, books, you name it. So huge shout out to those guys. Many more, obviously, but yeah, great times.
I pasted it before, Nenners, but that's good. Put it in again. You're good. No Nat Ones is awesome YouTube channel. Okay, so as is normal for us, we are going to go raid now. So we are going to go check out DN Denial because I think that's a great game, and their layout looks really cool. So we're gonna go say hi to them, and a lot of people look like they're kind of getting towards the end of their session, and they're like an hour and a half in. So hopefully they're just getting started and we can show them a little bit of love. So everybody who joined us tonight, thank you so much. And Carpe, thank you again for hopping on and spending this time with us. But
I love hanging out with y'all, man. It was a treat.
Hell yeah.
Definitely. I'd love to have you back sometime, but
I would love to be back. Let's do it.
Villain in campaign 2, my man. I might be calling you up. We got to get some times going.
Let's go.
I'm a Discord away at all times, Nina. I would love that.
I'm sad you mentioned that out loud. I can't tell you how cool that would have been to be playing and then just see a guest star Carpe appear. It was like,
dude, I did that in Mim's campaign a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yo, let's go. Okay.
All right. Yes.
We're going to say goodbye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
The Carpe will be a hunter.
Thank you.